Hi, this is Katie Weeks, your independent, close to my heart maker. And today I'm joining with the Twisted Sisters so I can show you some new products and some alternative ways to use them. Cheers! Yes, that was actually John in my craft room, and I needed help clearing out some root beer pop cans so that I could show you a fun technique. So my friend Mary Ellen actually introduced me to this technique, and my husband brought me his work gloves and some other snips and things in case I needed them, but actually the Fiskars scissors that I had in my craft room did the job, and I didn't need any of the other tools that he brought in from his workshop. And so I'm cutting off the top and bottom to these cans after I wash them out good, and then I am making sure that I wear the gloves because if you've seen my other videos, it's not unusual for me to cut myself just trimming foam tape. So I knew I needed to be extra careful when I was cutting these pop cans. And the aluminum cans actually cut quite easily. So I cut the bottoms off and then I cut them up the side. And what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be die cutting from this aluminum can. And I just trimmed it so there were no curvy parts to it and tried to flatten out the can. And next I brought in my Gnomes for Autumn Scrapbooking Stamp and Thin Cut set. This is the set that I'm going to be twisting today. And I'm grabbing off those 2 leaf thin cuts, and I'm going to be cutting the whole sheet of that aluminum with those 2 thin cuts. And it became pretty apparent to me that I needed to cut those out and make sure I taped down the aluminum. So I used washi tape to hold it down. Then I put on my dies and put on the top piece and then ran it through my die cutting and embossing machine, and I had my aluminum leaves. I went through and did this process multiple times and cut the whole sheet with the leaf thin cuts. And then the next thing that I did was I brought in the Gnomes for Autumn paper pack and sticker sheet, and I'm going to be using those today. I'm showing you some of the various papers, and I decided I'd use some Rosemary cardstock as well, and I'm using Make It From the Heart Volume 6 Pattern 16. This Make It From the Heart Volume 6 is available today. I'm also bringing in a stencil from Stencil Pack 1, and I'm going to start with my honey butter cardstock and line this up. I am not using the stencil in the way that you would be probably anticipating, but I'm just going to pick one of those bursts, and I've pulled out a bunch of inks, and I'm going to use one of these, and I'm going to do all the different layers, but not the way that the stencil was intended. So the stencil was intended that you would do like 1/4 of it, and then you could rotate your whole stencil and then layer on the next one. I'm just picking one of these bursts that could look like a flower, but I'm going to use it as a sun. And I think I'm starting with the honey butter ink, and then I'm going to rotate to another one, line it up, and then I'm bringing in the Sundance ink pad, and I'm doing that second layer from the stencil. And you see that I'm tapping it inside the lid. That just keeps it from giving me the really harsh imprint. And then I'm going to rotate a third time, and this time I'm going to bring in a brand new stamp pad. Let's open this up. This color is pumpkin. It is a beautiful warm orange, and I really like it. So I'm pouncing that inside the lid again and bringing in the next layer from that stencil to ink that up. Isn't that pretty? And lastly, I will bring in the Paprika stamp pad, and I will put this in the very center. This last stencil goes in the very center. What I should have done differently is I should have put some washi tape off of the edge of that stencil, make sure you do that because I got just the tiniest bit off the edge of the stencil. Then very lightly, I come in with my Sundance and with my pumpkin, I believe, and I add just the tiniest bit of shading around this whole thing, and it just helps blend it all together. But I didn't do it nearly as hard as I would have when I was pushing through the stencil. I just lightly did that around the whole thing. Next, I'm going to show you how I use Gnomes for Autumn Scrapbooking Stampin' Thin Cuts with this pattern 16 from Make It From the Heart Volume 6. So I'm kind of cheating the pattern a little bit. You'll notice that I have my White Daisy cardstock. I actually cut it in half, and then I added the Rosemary cardstock. That layer was not actually on the pattern, but I'm going to take these leaves and this sunflower, and I'm going to cut them out of these white daisy pieces. There you go. And I was able to do that because I cut them in half and they fit through my die cutting and embossing machine. Then I'm taking the Shortbread cardstock, and I think it's on the light side even, and taping it behind those leaves. And you can see up in the corner already in the top right that I actually took that honey butter that I stenciled up and put it behind the sunflower that I cut from that right side of the layout. So using the sunflower die as a sun die cut is my first twist. The second twist being these leaves, and that I'm going to be stamping in the negative part that I cut from the thin cuts. So I think those are a little different ideas than what you typically would think of doing when you see this Stampin' Thin Cut. So then I'm going to assemble all of the pages together and add on some honey butter cardstock, some Kraft paper to serve as mats for my photos, and then I'm even going to bring in one small piece of Mocha that I'm going to use as a photo spot as well. And then that will give me room for like 3 4x6 photos, and then several of the smaller 3x3 photos that I can put down the long strip and off to the side. Next, I'm bringing back my stamp set, and here I'm going to be stamping inside those negative places on that Shortbread cardstock. And I'm going to stamp in some of those same inks, pumpkin, paprika, and mocha, I do believe. Some of them I had to peel up a little bit. Next, I'm bringing in the title, Leaves Are Falling, Autumn is Calling, from the Gnomes for Autumn sticker sheet that came with the paper pack. And I'm going to be putting some foam tape on the back of that and popping up that title just a little bit on the page. Then from that sticker sheet, there's another thing that says Piles of Smiles, which I think is really cute, like a pile of leaves, you know, and you have a lot of smiles and fun. So I'm taking a zip strip and I'm dovetailing the zip strip to match that sticker, and I'm putting that below one of the photo spots. And I think I'm going to put a pile of leaves down in that corner. And so here are a lot of the things that I had die cut, and I went ahead and stamped them up. And then I'm going to build a pile of leaves in that far right hand corner. So I am adding leaves from those die cuts that you saw, from the autumn cork shapes, which had a bunch of leaves, and from that aluminum can that I cut. And I actually colored up the leaves with my TriBlend markers and used some rubbing alcohol. You're gonna have to look for the shorts that I'm uploading on YouTube that might show you a little bit more about how to do those aluminum can leaves. If you've enjoyed this and seen anything that you found inspiring, I hope you'll give me a thumbs up for this video. I think there's some pretty unique ideas in here that you might not have thought of using before. So here you'll see I continue to build that big pile of leaves in the bottom right. I love all of the textures using the cork, using the cardstock, using the aluminum can. It really gives it a different look. And here I thought that sunflower for a sun really needed a little bit more than just what was on the die cut and the stenciling, so I brought in some of my shimmer brushes. Check out the description for everything. Please give me a thumbs up if you've enjoyed this video, and make sure you subscribe to my channel and you hit that bell to turn on all the notifications so you'll be notified every time I upload a crafty video. Please leave me a sweet comment below and share this video with your crafty friends as well. It's free, why not share it? Have a great day.